What's good? It's Woog. What if Khabib Nurmagomedov called out, took to social media? He's not super heavy social media. He's got a huge social media following. Don't look up Khabib's Instagram. That dude's got millions of followers, right? You look at other great champs. Look at boxers, for instance. Look at popular American boxers. Look at Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford. Ryan Garcia's got a ton, but it's only a fraction of what Khabib's got. Anyway, Khabib's a star, right? If he took to social media one day, in that one day being now, and called out Kamaru Usman, and he would do it in a respectful way, right? But what if he just got on Instagram or something that said, Kamaru, I look at you as an admirable champ. I respectfully invite you to the cage, so to speak. Would that not be the biggest dare to be great statement that we've seen in recent MMA history? I mean, look, Conor McGregor taking on Nate Diaz instead of RDA several years ago, or a few years ago, on short notice, but doing it at 170 because that's the only place Nate, would have agreed to fight at that time. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. We got to do it at 170 though. I'm not dropping all the way down to 155. So, I've always looked at that as being a dare to be great scenario, and it didn't work out for him in that fight. He won a very, very, very close rematch. But Nate Diaz has never been a true 170-pound fighter. I mean, he's had a couple fights at 170. He, beat Showtime Pettis, I think, at 170. And then he lost to Jorge Masvidal at 170. And then he had the two fights with Conor at 170. Conor, also not a 170 fighter. He's only fought Cowboy Cerrone, who's only been a part-time 170-er. So we're talking about 155 guys who fought other 155 guys, but at 170. If Khabib, the dominant 155-pound lightweight champ, called out Kamaru Usman, who's just a bricked up, wrestle heavy, but evolving in the stand-up, who's now developed a power jab, a jab that you could legitimately call a power punch, and a resilient chin and tons of heart, which he proved against Gilbert Burns after being hurt early in their fight. If Khabib called this dude out, that would, okay, if you look at him against GSP, he's the clear favorite. GSP's fought once in 8 years? He took off 4 years, comes back, beats Michael Bisping via stoppage in a middleweight championship fight that was a weight class that GSP had never competed in. So there's another case of daring to be just outstandingly great. Yes, he did kind of, pick the right middleweight champ to go at. Bisping kind of has a suspect-ish chin. Really good fighter and a super brave human being. But it's not like GSP did it against Anderson Silva or Israel Adesanya, right? But people are talking about this dream match between GSP and Khabib. And I'm thinking, yeah, if Khabib wants to go 30-0, beating a near 40-year-old legend who's fought once in the past 8 years, cool. The image that comes to mind is when Royce Gracie came back to fight current champ Matt Hughes. It's really? Damn, man, I hated. I didn't like to see that fight because I remember how great Royce Gracie had been in his prime, and it's you just came back against the best of today, and it looked like it was the best of yesterday versus the best of today, right? So that's what I would expect Khabib versus GSP to look like, especially if GSP has to sweat all the way down to 155, a weight class he's never competed in. His whole career damn near was 170. So to, at 40 years old, go down to 155 to beat a prime Khabib, nah. And sure, Khabib could fight Dustin Poirier a second time, or Conor McGregor a second time, or Charles Oliveira a first time, Justin Gaethje a second time, or check back in a couple of years whenever the next crop of 155 greats emerges, right? And fight them, the best of tomorrow. But if in 2021, after this performance by Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns, if Khabib were to call him out, imagine how the MMA world would just explode. Oh my God. And the thing is, this would be a matchup where Khabib would probably be an underdog and should be an underdog because of how solid and dominant Usman is looking at 170. Now, Khabib has been thought of as a big 155, and there were times in his career where he struggled to make weight. And when he steps on the scale and weighs in, Khabib often looks drained. Even in his last fight against Gaethje, it trended on social media how out of sorts Khabib looked and how sunken in his face looked, how sick he looked. And one of his several attempted fights against Tony Ferguson was canceled before Tony Ferguson ripped up his knee in their third attempted try at the fight. But in their second attempt, before that, Khabib stepped on the scale, makes weight, and then collapses and has to get rushed to the hospital for either some like liver or kidney failure like thing where it was looking really bad and scary. So Khabib making 155 is no walk in the park. So he can make 170. The question is, can he go to 170, fight at 170, and fight the strongest, baddest dude at 170? Oh, woo! That would be an announcement. That would be something that would get every MMA casual or hardcore fan to turn their head and say, word? Let's see what happens. You know, this is the furthest thing from what's actually happening right now. I'm just thinking out loud, but I'm just thinking, you know, legacy-wise, if you were to come back, if you were Khabib, and look at what your different options are to try to dare to be great, if you will, and really assert yourself as an all-timer, a true all-timer, hey man, go big or go home, right? But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that totally hypothetical idea. Leave your comments in the comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.